Hey guys, this is Leah with Scott Marketing. In today's tip video, I wanted to walk you through how you can go about getting your forms accessed in DocuSign. All right, so I want to start by saying that if this is a new transaction you are just starting with, it's really important that you start the transaction in Command instead of DocuSign directly. So it's very important that you do start it in Command, create an opportunity from Command, and click Start a Transaction from the Documents tab of the opportunity in order to actually create the DocuSign room. So KW does have a very specific workflow for your DocuSign room and the opportunity to link up. If that is a new process to you, I will include the 30-minute overview on how to start and manage your transactions in Command with DocuSign. I'll include that in the description of the YouTube video below. All right, but this tip video will be in DocuSign specifically. Assuming you've already done that, let me show you how you would get access to your forms. So first thing you'll do is go ahead and pull open your DocuSign room. We're going to want to go into the Documents tab. So we're in the Documents tab of your DocuSign room. So your forms are not actually accessed in Command, right? If you're seeing a list of forms in Command, that will actually be to submit your signed paperwork for compliance review. And again, that'll be overviewed in the DocuSign with Command overview in the YouTube description if you'd like to check that out next. However, for the documents to be pulled into DocuSign, you'll actually still be accessing your documents from either DocuSign or .loop, whichever you are using. I'll be showing you that from DocuSign. So that is where you'll access all of your forms from the Documents tab of your DocuSign room. Let's go ahead and click on Add on the top right. So Add on the top right, and we have a few different options here. We can go ahead and add forms from PDFs if those are on your computer. The DocuSign Forms option is what we're going to talk about. That's what we're going to use. And that'll give you access to your interactive DocuSign forms, which basically means you can click to start typing in your forms. And lastly, I just want to mention ZipForms. That'll actually be used for California agents. So if you are a California agent, you will be accessing and editing your forms in ZipForms directly. And then you can pull that over to DocuSign to send out for electronic signatures if needed. And I will show you how to link ZipForms to DocuSign as we go along here. Okay, but let's go ahead and select the DocuSign Forms option. So I'll need to click on Add on the very top right and click on DocuSign Forms. You may get an additional pop-up window before you see what I see on my screen, and that may be prompting you to put in your NRDS ID, so with the Realtor Association. A lot of boards do require that, so that might be the case. If you would like to, for now, click the little blue link that says skip this step to see if your forms are already in DocuSign. I'll be showing you how to add your NRDS ID if your forms are not already in DocuSign. All right, so go ahead and skip that if it doesn't take you to this directly. But if you are seeing this right here, this will show you on the left-hand side any form groups that your office has set up for you. So the groups on the top left will be set up by your office staff. And you'll also see some libraries potentially on the left-hand side. This is like my MLS forms, and these are my association forms. Now, if you are seeing, I think it says something like cannot access or not available, or if you're seeing a tag that tells you you cannot access these forms, it's typically because your NRDS ID will need to be entered in to your DocuSign preferences to access that. So I'll show you that next. However, if you are seeing your forms here, you can go ahead and navigate through the folders on the left-hand side and the search bar on the very top to search for the form you're looking for. So you can search by the word, let's say, listing, or even the form number, right? However you'd like to. And it does, take a little bit to get used to the navigation of your forms. So you might have to play with it to start finding where all of your forms are, and your office staff will be best to direct you on where a specific form is if you're not finding that. So if you see all your forms, but you're not seeing one specific form, since your office staff does organize your forms, they would be best to ask on, the location of a specific form. So you can add one or multiple forms at this point by clicking the check boxes and click Add Selected. Okay, so at this part, if you were able to see your forms, you could simply go ahead and click on the form name. I'll take just a couple seconds to update that and open. And then you'll notice that these forms are interactive, meaning again that I can just click to start typing. Okay. Information will autofill from the details of your opportunity, details of the DocuSign room. But these are interactive forms that allow you to just start typing in it. So I'm going to click Save and Close on the top, but just a heads up if you wanted to print it at this point, so if you are able to access your forms, you could go through and fill out the entire form first, and then just a heads up, you have the option to print that. In the top right, the icon that looks like a folded sheet of paper, you can print it so you can bring it on your appointment with you. That's absolutely fine. This create envelope option will allow you to send that for electronic signatures. Okay, so you have two options. Once you edit the form, send for electronic signatures with this create envelope option, or you can print it and bring it on your appointment. All right, if you're wanting to get this signed electronically, again, the video in the description of this YouTube video that overviews how to use DocuSign, that'll guide you through the rest of this. So if your forms were in there and you're now ready to sign it, send that off, I would go ahead and switch it to that other tip video in the description. If your forms were not in your DocuSign account automatically, let's take a look at how we can get those. So I'm going to X out, or you can save it on the top. Okay, and now again, the next part of this tip will show you how to get your forms in DocuSign if they are not currently. So I am actually going to go over to my headshot, or it might be your initials, and a circle on the top right. And then preferences from that drop down. So again, either your headshot or initials in a circle on the top right of your DocuSign Rooms account, and click Preferences. And then on the left-hand side, we're selecting Integrations in blue. So again, those steps were your initial or headshot in a circle on the top right. Step 2, Preferences. Step 3, Integrations. Okay. So if you need your forms, if your forms are not currently displaying in DocuSign, you may need to go ahead and add your NRDS ID in order to have access to all of those forms. A lot of states and a lot of boards do require this. Now I'm going to put a link in the description that shows you all of the states and boards that do require your NRDS ID, so you can quickly check on that. I'm just going to pull this over on my screen so you guys can see this, but this is linked in the YouTube description. Okay, this will show you the NRDS availability for if your forms are available in your state by linking NRDS, which I'm going to show you next, okay? But real quick on how to read this sheet. Right, locate your state from this list. Check out column C. Is there a Y or an N? Right? Yes means you need to add your NRDS ID. N means no, your board forms are not available from adding in your NRDS ID. So if there's an N, right? First of all, California, you guys use ZipForms. I'll show you how to link that too. All right, but if there's an N, there's not an answer there, shoot us an email. We have some further notes that we can check on, and we can contact your office staff on how you get your access to your forms. Okay, your office staff would ultimately be the best resource for that answer if there's an N. However, if there's a Y, you'll notice that either some boards, if it's green, right, that means that the entire state of forms, you can get them all by just selecting this one. However, other states do just only provide forms for certain boards via your NRDS ID. Okay, so let me show you now how to add that in. But again, this will be linked in the YouTube description. Open that up so you can quickly see if the rest of this tip even applies to you. Okay, so to add your NRDS ID, okay, for California agents, just so I can cover this real quick, if you need to add your ZipForms login, you can go ahead and click on this arrow on the top right. And again, this is the only way California forms are available is through ZipForms. So you can go ahead and link that and click Save. All right, so for if you have a Y on that NRDS spreadsheet, we need to go ahead in this DocuSign form settings, we need to click Add Provider. So Add Provider. We'll typically always want to select the Realtor Association. to put in your NRDS ID. Okay, so the Realtor Association is what you'll want to pick. And now we just need to fill this out. So we need to go ahead and put in your NRDS ID. If you're not sure what that is, you can look it up right here. This is your ID from NAR, National Association of Realtors. That helps. Put in your last name, and that should match your real estate license specifically. If it's off in even the slightest way, it will not take. So that does matter with like punctuation. Okay, if there's like a dash and so forth, a junior, a dot. All right, and then lastly, we have the association. So this is where you're picking where you're a member of. And this is where that spreadsheet really comes in handy. So as you can see, this is not an alphabetized list. So instead of just searching to see if you might be on this list, your association, check that spreadsheet that I just showed you guys so you can see. Like, okay, Florida, yes, Florida requires NRDS ID, so I can go ahead and select Florida. Put in my NRDS ID, click validate, and it will link up my forms immediately. Okay. But just remember, when it does link up your forms, okay, and of course you can do this for any association. If you have any questions or trouble with that, just let us know. Just a heads up, once you do link it up, you should be able to see all of your forms in My Docs on the top here, but just to clarify, under My Docs, if you do look in the forms section here, these are just showing you a sample of the forms. So we get a lot of question that under My Docs, it's showing, the forms are all showing sample, right? If you try to open this, right? That's because you do not access your forms from this My Docs section. In order to access and edit your forms, that does need to be pulled into a room specifically. So just like we did at the beginning of this tip, right? At that point, we would go into our room, open that up, open up our room. In the Documents tab of our room, that's where we're able to click Add to add these DocuSign forms right here. Right? These are the interactive forms I can just start typing in. And if you had just added your NRDS ID, now you could go ahead and repeat this process to click Add in the Documents tab of your DocuSign room to search your DocuSign forms to pull those in right away. Okay? So again, in order to actually edit these forms, that would need to be done from your DocuSign room. And the tip video in the description that overviews DocuSign will walk you through editing your form, sending that for electronic signature, then submitting your signed paperwork to your office for compliance review. All right, guys, if you have any questions on how to go about accessing your forms, please do not hesitate to reach out to support@scottleroymarketing.com. We'd be more than happy to help. I hope this helped, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care, guys.